All right, everybody, welcome to the Backseat Huddle podcast, episode 79. It is Thursday, which means I am doing some power ranking. My power rankings are based on if teams were to play right this second at a neutral site, who would win. So that's how this list was determined. Enough talk. Let's get into the list. At number 10, I have the Cincinnati Bengals. I have the Bengals at 10 because of reputation alone. They've only played one good game this season, so I don't feel it would be appropriate to put them any higher than 10. I've actually considered putting the Vikings here over the Bengals simply due to the Vikings' small win streak and the fact they've looked pretty good recently. But when it comes down to the rosters, I just think Cincinnati is better than the Vikings are, so I'm putting Cincinnati at 10. The question for the Bengals is, will they get back to being the Bengals team we're used to seeing now that they're coming off a bye week? The Bengals are traveling to San Francisco to visit the Sam Darnold-led 49ers this week, and moreover, the 49ers' excellent defense. So this week should tell us a lot about who the Bengals actually are. If they look good, we'll know. If they look bad, they'll know. The Bengals are going to tell us something this week. The Bengals could easily rise up this list based on how they look Sunday. Even if they lose, but they look competent and they look like the team we're used to seeing them be, I will move the Bengals up next week. At number 9, I have the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins are slightly fraudulent, as I said 2 weeks ago, and I was right, and I'm going to continue to be right.
Previously on Dragon Ball Z.
I have a love-hate with Miami. I think they're a little bit fraudulent, and I think that as the season goes on, they will not be seen as a true contender. And here we are. They've played 2 top 15 defenses, and they've scored 20 points and 17 points in those 2 games. Now, everything I'm saying is very harsh for a team that I have ranked 9th in the entire NFL. When fully healthy, the Dolphins are closer to somewhere around the 6th spot, but their offensive line is beat up, and Tua isn't great under pressure. So if they play a team like the Cowboys, who have an excellent pass rush and excellent defensive front, what would this team look like right now? If they were healthy up front, I would feel a lot better about this Miami Dolphins team, and I would take them over someone like the Cowboys. If they were healthy up front, I would take the Dolphins over a team like the Cowboys or someone in that vein. And even without them being completely healthy up front, it would still likely be a close game. But their injury report is a concern, and it has them sliding for me. Number 8 is the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys are at number 8 because they're the Cowboys. We know what the Cowboys are, and barring any major injuries, we know what they're going to be. They're a talented roster that's being held back by average to below average coaching and average-ish quarterback play. They'll beat most teams, they won't beat others. The Cowboys are going to be in the 7 to 10 region for the rest of the season, and I'll say the exact same thing about them week in and week out. The Cowboys could trade for Derrick Henry today and Tyreek Hill today, and I would still put them at the exact same spot because of their head coach and quarterback. You don't have to be elite at both to have success in this league, but you do have to be elite at least one of those 2 spots to have a real shot in today's NFL, and they don't have either. At number 7, I have the Buffalo Bills. This shit again. Every time they lose, it's the same tired ass fucking story. Every time they lose, they get away from running the ball too early and ask Josh Allen to be Superman. In the 3 Bills losses this season, their running backs average 14 combined carries. In their 4 wins, their running backs average 26 carries. What that doesn't mean is if the Bills just run the ball, they're going to start winning all these games they're losing, because that take would be very obtuse. I understand that many of those rushing attempts in their wins are because the Bills are ahead in the 4th quarter and they're just running out the clock. But the lack of running back carries in their losses does tell you they get away from the run too easily in close games. When the going gets tough and the games are tight, the Bills just aren't going to run the ball. And if I know that, opposing defenses also know that. And if opposing defenses know that, it's a fucking problem. Sometimes you have to run the ball just for the sake of running the ball, if for no other reason than to keep the opposing defense honest. The Bills don't do that. At least threaten the defense with it. Take some of that pressure off of Josh Allen. Help the fucking guy out. At number 6 is the Detroit Lions. One word for the Lions. Yikes. I really want to drop the Lions lower because of that obliteration, but I don't want to get too high or too low based on any one game. Every team in the NFL to this point has had a stinker. Everyone has played at least one bad game so far, but the Lions was just worse than most. I'm trying not to make a ton of it because we've seen good teams get blown out in the past. Hell, the Buccaneers Super Bowl team from a couple seasons ago, they lost by 30 to the Saints. Do I think this team is anywhere near as good as the Buccaneers? No. Should I even be bringing them up in the same sentence? No. Am I putting my foot in my mouth by saying it? Yeah, but I wanted to provide at least some context for this, even if I'm grasping at straws doing it. There's still 10 weeks of football to be played for this Lions team, and I'm not going to let 1 week define what I think of them, even if it was probably the worst loss of any team this season. At number 5, I have the Baltimore Ravens. I don't want to put the Ravens this high, but I also can't ignore what I saw either. Like, what the fuck was that? If that's the ceiling for the Ravens, this team is a legitimate Super Bowl contender without a doubt. This Ravens team has had a very up and down season to this point, and if they stay closer to that team that we saw against the Lions instead of the team that we saw lose to the Steelers, the sky's the fucking limit for these guys. I've watched every game the Ravens have played this season, and it felt like this game against Detroit felt like it came out of nowhere. My guess is that something clicked this week for Lamar with his new offensive coordinator. I'm not really sure what to say about the Ravens other than their pass rush is disgustingly good. Lamar looks like an MVP candidate again, even though he could afford to hold on to the fucking ball and kind of get rid of some of those turnover issues. And their running game looks like the Ravens' running game, and they might be interested in Derrick Henry. We'll see if that type of play is sustainable for the Ravens down the stretch. At number 4, I have the San Francisco 49ers. I just can't bring myself to give up on this team. I can't do it. I know I should. I know they've lost back-to-back games. I know I should move them lower, but I just can't do it. They played poorly for one game versus the Browns, which fucking happens. Even the best teams don't play their best every single week. And then Monday night, Kirk Cousins played out of his fucking mind. And the 49ers still had a chance to win at the end. Twice. This defense is still great. This offense still has weapons all over. And Kyle Shanahan is too good of a coach to not figure out how to work with the weapons he has. I'm not going to allow 2 games without Debo to define this offense. Purdy may also not play this week, which is a concern, but Sam Darnold is about as talented of a backup as you could hope to have in this league. If there's a coach and a roster that's going to be able to get the most out of Sam Darnold, you have to believe it's the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan, given they face a really tough test this week when they play against the Bengals, who are coming off a bye. If they lose this week, I'll probably move them down a little bit further, but we'll have to see and reevaluate them after this Sunday. At number 3, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are at 3 because of their defense, not their offense. Let me make that perfectly clear. Their defense sucked in the first half this week, but otherwise have been dominant all season long. I haven't been impressed with their offensive output, at least aesthetically. They haven't been very good this season, and I don't make a ton of them trouncing the Chargers. The Chargers head coach shouldn't have a job, and I felt like this week was more of an indictment on his ineptitude than it was the Chiefs rounding into shape. But maybe this game is a springboard for the Chiefs offense, who is underwhelmed this season, and maybe this is a game that kind of mentally gets them in the right direction and has them scoring a few more points. At number 2, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars. I still think the Jaguars are the second best team in the NFL. I've been saying this for 3 weeks. I think the Jaguars have almost every ingredient you could ask a high caliber team to have outside of having an excellent offensive line. Aside from that, they've got it all. I think we'll learn a lot about the Jaguars this week when they play against the Steelers, because the Steelers have made a living beating teams that they have no business even hanging with. So the Jaguars could easily take a slide depending on their performance this week. And at number 1, I have the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are a touchdown to 10 points better than everybody else in the NFL. Their weaknesses as of a week ago were their secondary and their linebacker. And they just traded for an excellent safety, and their first round pick, Nolan Smith, is getting healthier at linebacker. So it looks like they've got 2 answers. And their other weakness is they're turnover prone. But that's an issue that can be fixed. It's not a matter of getting better or having better players or having a need. It's just a matter of your current players being better and improving. As talented as the Eagles are, I have little doubt that they'll be able to clean that up. They're the class of the NFL right now, and truthfully, I think they're a solid step above everyone else. So that's it, you guys. That's my show. Feel free to let me know if I missed. Feel free to like and subscribe as well. Take care, everybody.